Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Round 7. How you doing? Today we're going over MrWoolf's defense, and if you want your defense featured on Defense Up, then links in the description below. You can find me on Discord and send me some pics. Just DM them to me. My door is always open. I'll put you on the list, and somewhere within 2 to 6 weeks, we'll get your video posted up here. The Crucible rules will be changing soon, so we're just going over some of the last old rules here with MrWoolf's defense. He is 26 million-ish, operating in Diamond 3 of Crucible, and we got a few tweaks to make on his defense. We're gonna be talking about what you do with your APOC for different power levels. Team number 1 is the Gamma team. What we want to do differently with this is we like APOC on here. However, if you're operating at a lower level and just unlocked your APOC, you may want to reserve your APOC for offense. Help, spawn in without the safeguard, whatnot, so you can get a higher efficiency. If you're operating at higher levels, it's much more challenging. You've got a wider roster to work with, some powered up new tunes, big spender, that sort of thing. You're probably going to throw your APOC in with a Gamma team or a Darkhold team. You really want it to be a big boy APOC if you can. Makes a huge difference because Red Hulk is going to be speeding up that apocalypse and it can catch people off guard. That's a huge Red Hulk, by the way. 7 red stars. Gear tier 18, just maxed out, 400,000 power. That's crazy good. But we want to swap out Abomination with Green Hulk. Green Hulk will help you to not only get splash damage on APOC, giving him that offense up, speed up, the turn meter, but it's going to help control where your opponent lands ability blocks, traumas, whatever kind of counter they're using to come into this. So we're going to put She-Hulk and Green Hulk to the outside. We're going to put Brawn in the middle, and then we'll keep Apocalypse and Red Hulk in the back row. We did have MrWoolf in chat with us today, helping us discuss some of these things. So we have a little bit more information on the background of what's going on for their specific situation. And if you send in your picks, you too can be a part of that conversation. Jgiusti was in my ear helping me through this, so if you don't like any of this advice, go to Jgiusti and complain to him. All right, this is pretty good, but we found some ways to make it better. I'm gonna give this one a B+. It's not really offensive, but we do think that Green Hulk is gonna be better used in here than Abomination. All right, over here, we have the Infinity Watch. This is a great team. I'd like to see it bigger, but it's too late to invest in it now. Unless we see this team getting a rework or something, and we won't. They're too good of a team. This is one of the most valueful, is that a word? I don't know. People really got their value out of building this team. It has been effective at a pretty high level for a very long time, so I don't think it's going to get reworked. This is fine. I like the ISOs. You could probably go blue 3 ISO on this team if you really wanted to, if you can spare it. That might be something you could do, but otherwise, it's really hard to invest in this team. I'm going to give it an A and move on. Over here, we have the Eternals with the YA team. I don't like the Fortifier on Squirrel Girl. MrWoolf says that's because he wants to keep her from getting blown up on a tangled opener. And so we're thinking that she should probably be big enough to survive that. And maybe if we just do some better placement, we ought to do a little bit better. Like putting Miss Marvel in the middle so that she is getting hit more. That'll give Squirrel Girl the speed, put Squirrel Girl to the outside, maybe put your Eternals to the outside and just have the 3-piece of the YA in the middle. There's some different tweaks we could do with the placement there, but certainly I think Squirrel Girl is going to be better off with a different ISO. I think that was wasteful spending. It's a blue 4 Fortifier with no plans on making her blue 5. And honestly, you shouldn't go blue 5 Fortifier on anybody unless there's somebody you want to be a blue 5 Fortifier long-term and in other places, and a valuable character that needs that blue 5 for reasons, right? The list of all the things that require a blue 5 ISO. I think a blue 3, blue 4 healer or striker would have been a better choice on Squirrel Girl. I think that was pretty wasteful. And Miss Marvel probably be placed in the middle so she gets more splash damage, speeding up that Squirrel Girl. I like the Eternals to the outside. Otherwise, this is fine. People have been using this one. It's kind of nice to keep your Tangled, your Weaver on offense so you can do different things like a Tangled Undying combo into bigger teams. But this is fine. So let's just tweak the placement. I don't like the ISOs. I'm going to give this one a B-. It's not super exciting for me, but it's in the ballpark. Number 4 is the War Dogs. We don't really grade War Dogs anymore because this is the team everybody has to use, and everybody has to use Masters of Evil against it. I will say this team is small enough that some opponents might attempt to save their Masters of Evil and go into this with something else. Doesn't really happen anymore. Everybody kind of understands this is just the game we play. We have to use Masters of Evil in room 4 against the War Dogs, so is what it is. Moving on. Darkhold with Quicksilver. All right, so one thing that we are thinking is that we might be moving Quicksilver into room 6, and if that's the case, there's a few options. People use APOC with Darkhold. People use Quicksilver. People can also use Loki, which will change up the speed. Loki gives some speed to Mystic controllers, so throwing Loki in there could have an effect on people. Plus, you kind of got to build Loki now for that Bifrost raid team that doesn't have Heimdall on it. I don't know why it's called Bifrost without Heimdall on it. That's a whole other conversation. Moving on. You could just use the 5-piece Darkhold in here as well. The more competitive you get, the more you need to move away from that 5-piece and do something powerful, the closer you come to putting an APOC on this team. So I think Quicksilver's great. Quicksilver needs to be big to be effective. In a couple, 3-4 weeks, most people will be getting their 7th star on Quicksilver, depending on where you're crucibling at or whatever. So I think we're gonna start seeing 6-7 Quicksilvers all over the place, and it's gonna be pretty impactful. I think that MrWoolf is right on track with the size of his Quicksilver, so it shouldn't be an issue, but he's kind of on the low end right now, but not to worry. I like this team. I can give this team an A. I like the placement. Remember, Agatha pulls an assist from an adjacent, so you want to make sure she's adjacent to MLF and no one else, or no other Darkhold members anyway. So I like this. I think it's good. I can work with this team. And if we decide to pull Quicksilver off, then I think Loki is probably going to be the best choice for this build at this range. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give this team an A as it is, though, so it's really dealer's choice. And finally, we have the Rebirth team with Green Hulk. Now, we talked about moving Green Hulk to that number 1 team, so he's out of here. So your choices are going to be Quicksilver, Zemo, or US Agent. US Agent is the least exciting of those choices. I personally think Zemo's really good, especially if you have that big Winter Soldier built up, speeds him up, and then he snaps off and takes somebody out of the game. However, MrWoolf does not have a Zemo that is very big. Now, you can still use him, but he's gonna die quick. He's not gonna get a second turn, and it's not that amazing. And honestly, like, the Death Seed team might just take care of that too fast. So, doesn't want to use Zemo. So I think that we want to pull Quicksilver in here. And if Quicksilver's not the way to go, then we're down to US Agent. That's probably your choices there. As is, this is a great composition. We talk about using Green Hulk. It's one of the favorites in here, but we need him to make that number 1 team even better. If you're going to be placing APOC on that Gamma team, you need to make that the best team in your defense, and that's Green Hulk in there to really control the match more and take that control away from your opponent. So for me, I think this team is actually an A by itself. But I think in this entire roster, it's more of a B+, A- kind of thing, and we need to make some tweaks. So whether you're going to use, shift all these characters around to try and get the supreme overall compatibility with your roster, or whether you just want to keep it the way it is and have, and just try and spread it around a little bit, it's going to be entirely up to MrWoolf. So, MrWoolf, thank you for sharing your defense with us. I appreciate it. I learned a little bit about these defenses and what we can use into them. I always like talking with people behind the scenes and hearing what Chad has to say, so that when these Crucible rules ever change, I will have a better idea of what some of these characters can and should do. Hopefully those changes come soon. I think we've only got like 3 weeks left. in this cruise of 3-4 weeks, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that's all. Remember, don't just have a good game, be good to yourselves and others too, and I'll see you next time. Bye.